So I have an interesting topic today, but I would like to take a step back and actually abstract the conversation a bit and try to focus on some of the intangibles that companies are now focusing on, as you've heard today from all my colleagues here on the call. The power of building, say, high-performing teams, building strong execution cultures, and being able to rally around a common cause really is the dream of every company out there. But all that really takes a tremendous amount of time. And we've gone through a variety of cycles over the last couple of years where people are trying to re-strategize and rebalance and try to understand what all that means at this point in time with the new norm of the culture they find themselves in today. And myself, I've been thinking a lot about time lately, not necessarily in the ephemeral or the generational sense that we humans traditionally tend to think about time, but on a really a much larger scale. Put it in perspective, things like if you think about the time the dinosaurs ruled the earth, we know it was a really long time ago, but do we really understand how long that time actually lasted? So from a nerdy science perspective, it takes our sun about 200 million years or so to make a full rotation around the Milky Way galaxy. To put the dinosaurs' reign in perspective, the Stegosaurus and the T-Rex themselves lived on opposite ends of that Milky Way galaxy. They were so far apart in the grand scheme of things. They just actually were about 100 million years apart in the overall period of time. We tend to think of the dinosaurs that they were there in a certain period of time. They were all kind of meshed together, but that's not necessarily true. Homo sapiens, on the other hand, have only been around for 350,000 years, a much smaller slice in time. And we continue to slowly uncover fossils and other artifacts from history that really are helping us understand what actually happened during that time period and allow us to piece together the history of the world. Time is really important. And the farther you go back in time, the more there is to learn. It's a much bigger treasure trove than people actually realize. Which is why I believe that December 25th of 2021 will forever be known as the day in which our knowledge of the universe would radically be transformed thanks to the launch of the James Webb Space Telescope. Now, James Webb is designed to improve our understanding of four major areas of science, fundamental science. First light and the reionization of the universe, the assembly of galaxies in the early universe timeframe, all the birth of stars and protoplanetary systems, and generally the understanding of planets themselves, including, let's say, for example, the origins of life. And you've probably seen a lot of the recent focus and announcements of the first images from the James Webb Space Telescope that really show us a tremendous amount of detail. There's all the comparisons back to Hubble, but there is an image that I love. It's the SMACS 0723 galaxy cluster that has come out about the last month or two. This image honestly gives me goosebumps every time I see it. Not only because there are thousands of galaxies extremely visible in the image and actually with significant clarity, you can actually make out a tremendous amount of the satellite systems around there or the actual spirals in those galaxies themselves, but it's because it's one of the few times that we've been able to actually look this deep into space. And honestly, it still blows my mind that some of those faintest visible galaxies in that image itself are over 13 billion years old, just after the universe exploded with life. An incredible find, an incredible image, an incredible entry into the book of knowledge for the radical transformation of what we understand about the universe today. Now, the James Webb Space Telescope is also, I'll say, a refreshing example that we can still rally around a common cause, which is something we don't see as much in today's world. It's driven by a variety of other factors, but not necessarily that mission or that common cause driver. It's the product of really an incredible collaboration, international collaboration, if you will, between NASA, the European Space Agency, and even the Canadian Space Agency. And according to NASA, the James Webb program involved over 300 universities, organizations, and companies across more than half the United States. I think it's about 29 states and 14 different countries themselves were all involved in making this a reality. And I always love to think about the lifelong impact and the generational stories of pride that have been instilled in so many families around the globe and be able to say, I worked on that. And they can tell their kids, they can tell their grandkids, and they can tell their families. And to me, I believe that companies are starting to realize that those intangibles are actually so powerful, and they're starting to try to get back into some of that after the last few years. And I do think that those are really worth their weight in gold. And it feels like we've been waiting a long time for this moment in time to actually happen. But like every other moment in history, it actually has arrived. And all we have to do is make sure that we capitalize on it and ensure that what we learn by looking backwards, we can apply to the next generation of lives to make their lives just a little bit better.